various creatures we can pull from Scandinavian folklore, today's focus on Myth to D&D will be the Nack, also known as a Nixie. Shout out and thanks to Ep.7 for this suggestion. If you want to see your suggestions on Myth to D&D, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Without further ado, let's go ahead and go over the background of the Nack. The Nack can be many things. It's commonly considered as a water spirit who is usually in a river. The Nack usually likes to take the form of a person's desire. Its priority is to lure you into the river and then eat you. The most common form of the Nack, however, is a beautiful naked male figure that is usually playing music. This isn't the form that the Nacken always takes, however. It can take the form of plants, even gold, and objects in the river as well. Whatever it takes to go ahead and lure their prey in. In its most common form, the Nack is often depicted playing enchanting melodies on the violin. These melodies are said to be hauntingly beautiful, and that they compel listeners to approach the source, ultimately leading them to their demise by drowning. Unlike most other creatures, however, the Nack is a little bit more complex than others. It's not just a malevolent deity of some sort. Some tales of the Nack suggest that they're lonely rather than evil. They long for human companionship. In certain stories, individuals who show kindness or offer gifts to the Nack can gain their favor. The etymology of the name Nack is derived from an Old Norse word, Nykr, or Nykr. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. It means river horse. This is referencing another common form that the Nack can take, which is a horse. If you've ever heard of a Kelpie, this may sound familiar. This tale's purpose was most likely spun to keep smaller children, especially, away from large sources of water so they don't go in and drown. If you like these kinds of videos, make sure to like and subscribe, as well as comment your suggestion down below to see your creature appear in the next episode of Myth to D&D. And without further ado from here, let's convert the Nack into a D&D creature. Alright, the scene is set and we have our token as well as our victim here that has been lured in by the Nixie's song on their violin. Just to reiterate, this is the default portrait for the Nixie. The resources are going to include this pixel art as well as a horse form for them for a move we're going to get into later. However, feel free to, change up the image how you would want for your campaign, since the Nixie does take the form of whatever that person would desire. So if they liked golden riches, for example, they could literally just be like a small liquid pile of gold in the river to lure that person in. Doesn't necessarily have to be a water spirit. Let's go ahead and kick things off here with our stat block. So the Nack is a medium fae who is chaotic neutral. Armor class of 16 via natural armor. Hit point average of 136, which is either that or 16d8 plus 64. Has a normal movement speed of 30 feet and a swim speed of 65 feet. Strength 14, Dex 18, Con 18, Int 14, Wiz 16, Charisma 20. Saving throws in Dex of +7, Wisdom of +6, Charisma of +8. Skills in Deception of +8, Performance of +8, Persuasion of +8, Stealth +7. Damage resistances to Cold and Psychic. Damage immunities to Thunder. Condition immunities to Charmed and Frightened. Its senses are Dark Vision of 60 feet with a passive perception of 13. It understands and can speak Aquan, Common, Elvish, and Sylvan. It is a challenge level of 7. Diving into the abilities, we start with Amphibious. The Nack can breathe both air and water. Shapeshifter. As a bonus action, the Nack can magically transform into a white horse or back into its true form. While in horse form, its speed and swim speed swap. Creatures that willingly mount it must make a difficulty class 16 wisdom saving throw or become charmed. The charmed creature is unable to dismount and must use its movement to ride the Nack into the nearest body of water. Creatures charmed to the Nack that have at least 5 feet of speed automatically mount the Nack when in horse form. Whoop, there we go. Alright, so we've changed our Nack's portrait to its horse form. Again, both will be available in the Google Doc below. And let's go ahead and explain Shapeshifter. So you utilize a bonus action to swap in between both forms, And the main thing you want to pay attention to is your speeds. So in base form, bad regular movement speed, or rather average regular movement speed, and excellent swimming speed. When you're in horse form, it's the opposite. Your regular movement speed becomes really good. It becomes at 65 feet, while your swim becomes 30. So what's the point of shapeshifting into horse if it doesn't really conceivably do much unless the person willingly mounts you? We'll get into that as we go over the other traits and actions, as the Nacken's main strat is to allure you over to them so that you do come on either in their normal form or their horse form and then drown you. Water Glide is our next ability. While in water, the Nack can dash as a bonus action and does not provoke opportunity attacks when moving through water. So in either form, either if you have the lesser or greater swim speed, you'll be able to at least dash as a bonus action while in water. So this thing takes advantage of a lot of different things while it is in the water. Hence why we've set the token up near a river on our map. Finally, we have Fey Resilience. The Nack has advantage on saving throws against spells and magical effects. Actions: multi-attack. The Nack makes 2 attacks with its Alluring strings, or 1 attack with Drowning Grasp, and 1 attack of Enthralling Song. Let's go over those actions. Alluring Strings is a melee weapon attack. The +7 to hit, reach of 5 feet, 1 target. Hits for 3d6 + 4 psychic damage. The target must make a difficulty check 16 wisdom saving throw or become charmed until the end of its next turn. Cannot be used while in horse form. Okay, so we've reset back to our default form to go ahead and use Alluring Strings. Wouldn't really make sense if the horse was able to play the violin, but apart from that, this is your way of trying to charm characters. Again, if you multi-attack, you can use Alluring Strings twice with a single action of multi-attack. We're going to do a small damage test here. As usual, our damage tests assume that all attacks hit, so we're not going to be doing any hit rolls. We're going to say that these two went ahead and have a conversation, and the Nack has managed to lure this ranger into range of its attacks. If you're previously looking at the little info box on the screen, you'll see that most of the, if not all of the Nack's attacks are 5 feet range, and that's one of its disadvantages it has. It needs to have its targets close to it in order to perform its powerful attacks. Luckily, Charmed isn't the only thing this creature has to rely on. It also has very, very high charisma and persuasion skills in order to get its targets close to it. So we're going to hit our ranger here with a 3d6 + 4. Here we go. Turn caps lock off. And we're hitting for 12. That's a spicy hit. That's not bad. They end up failing that difficulty class 16 wisdom saving throw. They're charmed, so they're locked in at that point. All that Nack has to do now is just move far enough into the river. Let's say this river maybe had a really, really strong current. That's all it takes. Nack takes them from there. They're done. But we can't end it there. We have more actions to go over, such as Drowning Grasp. Drowning Grasp is a melee weapon attack with a +5 to hit, reach of 5 feet, 1 target. It hits for 4d6 + 2 bludgeoning damage. The target is grappled with an escape difficulty class of 16, your choice, DM, of how you want to handle that. While grappled this way, the target is also restrained and starts suffocating if fully submerged in water. While suffocating, the target must pass a difficulty class 18 Constitution save when their turn starts. If the save is failed on 2 of your own turns in a row, you drown, setting your HP to 0 and bypassing all self-revival effects. A lot of information again, so let's break that down. So, what happens with this attack? So, preferably this is done in the water. It wouldn't really make that much sense if it was done on land, and it's not really specified in this kind of text blurb. I kind of forgot to put that detail in, but it makes sense if you think about it. You can't really drown someone on land, so preferably the Nack already has their target in the water for this move. And this is just the confirmer at this point. It grapples them, and they need to go ahead and use some sort of skill they have that makes sense to get out of this grapple that's being placed on them with at least a 16 or higher. But then we fail that, and we take our 46. Let's do a little damage test. As tradition. 20. Ow. Yeah, that hurts. That's going to continue to hurt too. But anyways, we go ahead and we fail our escape. Well, now we're drowning. And if you failed the difficulty class 18 Constitution save that happens on the start of your turn, you're going to start drowning. You fail that twice in a row, meaning, you know, another full round passes and you're still under there. You can't get out of the grapple. You fail the Constitution save. You're done. You're out of commission. You're going to start making your death roll / saves at that point. And bypassing all self-revival effects. What does that mean? So there are effects in D&D as well as maybe even trait passives from, let's say, half orc that would self-revive you your first time in combat when you reach 0. Again, half orcs have this where if they hit 0, they're auto-resed to 1 HP for once, I think, every long rest. That completely bypasses it. It ignores it, so you just die. Well, if the knock doesn't get you in those two ways, it has Enthralling Song, which has a recharge of 3. The knock plays an irresistible song. Each creature of its choice within 60 feet that can hear it must succeed on a difficulty class 16 wisdom saving throw, or be incapacitated for 1 minute. While incapacitated, the creature sees the knock as an ally and does not regard it as a threat. It can repeat the save at the end of each of its turns or whenever it takes damage, ending the effect on a success. And this is where things get, once again, very deadly. Alright, if we look back on multi-attack, we do see the second option is a combination of Drowning Grasp and Enthralling Song. If you've been paying attention to what both of these moves do, you can see why that is incredibly dangerous. If this thing is physically drowning you and you start seeing it as an ally, you're not going to really want to resist what is happening. You're going to see this thing as a friend and whatever it's doing to you, especially if you are charmed on top of all of this, you're not going to really react that much. That is going to make the escape DC much harder. That is going to make you making the Constitution save from Drowning Grasp happen more likely, which is bad. If we go ahead and recall the horse form, if you're allured, you're going to be walking towards your target. You're going to go ahead and if you have enough speed, you will automatically mount the horse form, and all the horse form has to do at that point with your remaining speed as well is you are forced, due to one of the traits, to ride that horse as deep into the water as you can get it. So that does it for the actions, and despite this not being a legendary creature, this creature does have a few reactions it can use also to go ahead and counteract certain tactics used. First up is Melodic Counter. When a creature within 30 feet casts a spell, the knock can play a discordant note. The caster must succeed a difficulty check 16 charisma saving throw, or have its spell fail, wasting the action. Basically, free counter spell within 30 feet of the monster if they fail a 16 charisma saving throw. Last but certainly not least is Slippery Escape. When the creature misses a melee attack against the knock, it can use its reaction to move up to 15 feet without provoking opportunity attacks. Doesn't sound like much at first, but if you have a party full of melee attackers with no range, you're going to see how that's a problem, because this thing, if you miss it, is going to get free movement. It is just going to move further into the water, causing you to just move further and further into its territory. It's this creature's entire deal. Move the attackers into its territory and drown them. Remember, however, the knock is not an inherently evil creature, so it's willing, despite its kind of mischievous nature at some times, it's willing to bargain, it's willing to talk. But at the end of the day, most knocks do aim to bring their victims into the water. It's how they eat. But that's going to do it for our knock. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks again to our suggestion from the comments. If you would like to see a creature, deity, whatever from Myth in this video converted into a free D&D resource, you can leave your suggestion in the comment below. I do read through all of my comments and make lists of things based on my suggestions and how good they are. Video on the left is YouTube recommended. Video on the right is our last video we did on the Oni from Dead by Daylight, who we turned into a Berserker subclass. If you'd like to see that, click there. Otherwise, see you in the next one.